Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am the Principal and Chief Visionary Officer of Adam Red and Atlanta Branding Agency, and I am a brand strategist and a Better Life coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. I'm streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, and you can watch the stream from those channels and on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com. Replays are available on the website as well and on IGTV and Twitter. Now make sure you follow your favorite channels so you'll receive notifications when I go live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, one of the topics I cannot get away from is vision. I believe it is the key to everything. So that's why the goal of Vivid Brands is to help you get a vision for every area of life. Your inside, your outside, and your surroundings. So we're going to dig into that tonight. Please introduce yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Katrina and Ron are helping me monitor the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Please share the link, invite your friends, tell them about the replays, and we'll get into it right after this. Now, as always, I want to make sure you understand where to get more information about everything that we're doing. You want to visit my website at gwenwitherspoon.com. And there you're going to find everything. You'll get a chance to watch the replays, learn a little bit more about me. You can see the live stream is going on there. I figured out today that if you're on the site before I go live, once I go live, you might need to reload the page just to get the stream to show up in the box. I had somebody few weeks ago tell me it wasn't there, and I'm like, it had to be there. So now I figure out why. But there's also, I'll have the video, the big video will be last week's episode, and then the others are the replays from the prior weeks. Of course, you can find this on YouTube. You can find it on all the other channels, but this is just one great central location to find everything. Also, if you need to contact me for any reason, my contact form is there, and then that's just kind of the best place, the one central location to go find everything. So listen, I'm so grateful that you are here. We are coming back here. There we go. So grateful that you're here today. And I had a little panic moment earlier. Normally, I really don't know what it is I'm about to say, every day. Every Wednesday. Usually, it takes a little bit of time for me to really get some clear direction or clear idea of what it is exactly I want to talk about. But most of the time, there is some shred of an idea already there, either with something I've already written previously, just because the general concepts, I've been developing these concepts at least for the last decade, if not longer. And so most of the time I have like a little seed to go on. And so let me tell you, today it was completely blank. The slate was clean. I was like, what am I going to say? And then when it finally came, I'm like, ooh, okay, this is going to be good. So I'm looking forward to hearing what I'm going to say, hopefully as much as you are. But tonight, I wanted to talk about really getting a vision for every area of life. And if you're familiar with my Vivid Brands at all. So Vivid Brands is this interactive suite of platforms that we are developing. And it started in 2013 with a podcast called Vivid Talk Live, Vivid Talk Radio. And so Vivid Talk Radio was really all about having weekly coaching conversations. And so that has had a couple of reboots and is due for yet another. I've had some other some co-hosts and things like that, and those personalities continue to change. So I need to reboot it, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to restart by myself or this was the conversation I had with Katrina. Shout out to Katrina. Katrina is she's my business partner, my coach. Really, she's just become a personal confidant and friend, but really a trusted advisor when it comes to just helping me to get all this stuff out. You know, no matter how gifted or talented you are, and no matter what service, what amazing transformational service you provide to other people, I think God has made us so that we have to have each other. So even if you provide all of that to other people, it's so difficult for you to hey Nedra, so difficult for you to really kind of take your own medicine. And so she's been a vital help to me as I have worked to try to just to develop and get all of my vision clear and make it vivid so that I can share with you and with others. But one of the conversations we had was, hey, I want to do this Vivid Talk Live, Vivid Talk Radio and Vivid Talk Live, but I'm not sure if I should do it with someone else or whatever. And she told me, that's when she said, you need to do it by yourself. And so, and I think I mentioned when we started that whole idea brought me to tears, which I don't understand why. But Vivid Brands includes Vivid Talk Radio, Vivid Talk Live that we're doing now, Vivid Magazine, which has an online, a digital, and a print version. Vivid Content Lab, which we want to help you develop your content because telling your story is key and essential to developing your personal brand and also to establishing your business. Hey, Renee. And so everything that we do in the Vivid Brands in the ecosystem is designed to really help you develop personally, help you develop your ideas, help you to make all of it vivid so that other people can read it and run with you, and so that you can really build whatever it is that you've been destined to create in the earth and to help you solve the problem that you were put here to solve. And so one of the themes you'll see over and over again throughout Vivid Brands is this idea of getting a vision for every area of life. And I mentioned before as well that I'm really good at developing a vision for a business or for a solution. When someone comes to me with an idea or a problem, I naturally start strategizing around how can we create a vision, a solution to this problem, right? But I admittedly am lacking in vision for some other areas, and I suspect that you're probably the same way. That there may be like some people, they're homebodies and they like, they're what do we call introverts and like being really by themselves. They're comfortable there, and so they can create a very cozy, comfortable space for themselves personally. But maybe they don't have as much vision for putting themselves out in the world and out in front of people and influencing others and all of that. So, and then some of us are really disciplined physically and maybe this like specimens and examples of physical fitness and health. And others of us may kind of struggle in those areas. We have some ideas about, or we might want passively to have a different physical walk around and different physically, but we may not necessarily do the work that it takes to get that done or to really set our mind and hearts on a clear path for how we can get there. But any area of your life, any area of my life that's not exactly where Nedra said, that's you, girl, it's a problem for all of us, really. But any area where you are perishing, you're not getting the results that you want, you are having difficulty. I mean, for years I thought I was going to struggle financially forever because it just felt like I was just never going to be able to move forward. But what I've learned is all I really needed was to get some information, some education, and then set a vision for what I wanted my financial life to be like, and then start acting in step with the thing that I wanted, with what I saw in front of me. But so it's each and every one of us has the opportunity, and we have the potential, and we have the ability to create, to design the life that we really want, the life that we imagine. And I think it starts with personal branding, which is what we've been talking about ever since we started Vivid Talk Live. And personal branding really is about understanding who you are, just really defining your identity. And when you do that, it's communicating that to the world. And the reality is we all have a personal brand, no matter what. whether you recognize you have one, whether you've set out in the world to actually establish it and to communicate and share it with people, the bottom line is we all have a brand, and that brand is defined, one, by how we perceive ourselves, and then how we show up in the world. And you can make a decision that you want to show up differently, that you want to show up stronger, that you want to show up more powerful, that you want to show up more confident, that you want to show up just with more love. You can make a decision about how you want your future to be. And if there's anything about your life that is not lining up with with really the potential that you have been given and endowed with as a child of God. And so if you are not living up to that, whatever it is, right? And we all have some that, we're human, and we are all created by God, and we all have just certain characteristics, right? We have the ability to create just like he does. We have the God spoke the worlds into existence. He spoke everything that exists into existence. And it began when he just got in his own mind. This is what I want. This is what I want to create. This is what I want to develop. And then he spoke it into existence. And we all have that ability. We have the ability. You have the ability to see a future for yourself and actually step back and start creating it, speaking it into existence, and then acting in expectation of its manifestation. But if you don't, if whatever, it's like you have been given all the raw materials that you need, and God is sitting back waiting for you to take what he's given and to understand who you are, invest time and energy in learning what that is, and then applying yourself to developing it, to increasing, basically to acting in line with his character, because he's given us all the potential and the ability and the raw materials that we need to do that. And he's just waiting for us. So most of the time what we do is we pray and we ask God over and over continually. We ask God for a change. We ask God for things that we may feel like we're missing. We ask God for relationships. We ask God to resolve problems. We ask God to do all these things for us. And I do believe that that we need to declare our dependence and our expectation and our belief in God by asking for the things that we believe we need. But at the same time, there's a certain level where really God's done everything he's going to do. Right? Because it says he set your end from the beginning. He formed you. Before he formed you, the scriptures say, in your mother's womb, he knew who you were, and he knew the plan that he had set out for you. And so it's our job to understand and to really dig into what that is, and then to take the potential and the ability and the gifts and the talents that he's given to us, the vision that the purpose that God has destined for us. It's our job then to develop that, to become that, to really invest it in the earth. But it starts with getting a vision. So if there's an area of your life that needs to be better, or even something that you're already working on, something you're already trying to build, it is your responsibility to get a vision, to get a revelation about it, to understand. And I looked up, I love word studies. So I looked up the meaning of the word vision, and it means the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Isn't that good? The ability, vision is the ability. I just got this I just Googled it, right? So just dictionary.com or whatever this is the definition that popped up. The ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And I really loved that. And the word imagination, I had to dig into that, right? Imagination is, and I love that it's described as an action. It is the action of forming ideas, images, or concepts not present to the senses. Imagination is the action of forming ideas. It said forming new ideas, but I love this now. the action of forming. So imagination is the action of forming new ideas, images, or concepts that are not present to the senses. So you have the ability to use your imagination to form the concepts, the images, the ideas that you need to to actually realize your vision, to actually design your future. It also means imagination, the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful. We've all been given the ability to be creative. We've all been given the ability to be resourceful. And just think about it, everything that exists in the earth that we can identify as made by a man, a human being, that thing had to be, it had to be imagined. It had to be created. We had to be, whoever designed it, brought it into the earth, into reality, had to be resourceful to take what already existed. Have you ever thought about it? Like, I know I take a lot of stuff for granted because we just get up every day and it just exists, but especially in our country. But just think about it. Like, how did somebody know that they could take an x-ray and get a picture? Like now, you can get an ultrasound, and now they have 3D imaging where you could actually see what the baby really looks like on the inside. How did they know that they could knock us out and cut us up? We don't feel any pain, then they wake us back up. Like, someone had to imagine what that was. They had to see a problem and design what that future looked like. I'm told that that the technology already exists for them to 3D print organs, human organs that they can literally transplant into a person, and that person lives a better life and walks around whole and functioning. So how could that possibly have come to pass? Like, how would someone know to do it? Because they use their imagination. And so think about any situation in your life that you are dealing with, or anything that you really want to be better. How is it going to happen? It's going to happen because you're going to tap into the power of imagination that you have. And, this is no spooky spiritual idea. This is just a reality. Imagination is a real thing. And imagination is a capability. It's a function of you as a human being that you possess. So, vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And I'm not going to touch on wisdom tonight. I touched a little bit on that in prior weeks. But I also wanted to talk about focus. So the title for today is Vision for Every Area of Life, and it's about developing a blueprint. And for you to develop a blueprint, the first thing you have to do is use your imagination. Use your imagination to figure out what it is you want to develop, to design, to create. What kind of future do you see for yourself? What kind of future do you want to walk into that that doesn't exist for you right now? And so you have to start with vision and imagination, and then the next step is focus. And focus, I looked up, that means the center of interest or activity. Focus. So you think about vision. You've got to get this big grand picture, right? You got to examine the landscape. And then you have to focus. And focus is, again, I love that it's described as an action. It's the center of activity, right? It's the center of your interest or your activity. And when we talk about focus, I said when we started, we want to help you get a vision for every area of life. That includes your inside, that's who you are intrinsically, your emotional intelligence, your mental capacity, the center of your being, right? It's just who you are from the inside. And oftentimes we don't spend a whole lot of time developing that. It's much easier to focus on other things outside of us, or things that we feel like we may have more control over. But the center of your being is who you are is everything. It is the foundation of your life. And so you have to get a vision for developing your inside, who you are. That's what this show is about. And so you can go online and you can get how to's, 5 steps to this and 10 steps to that. And this is how you, launch this campaign. This is how you market this. This is how you make $1,000,000. We can get those videos, and we need those. We need clear, specific instruction to do certain things. But we also have to invest time and energy in developing our inside. And that's why this show is about a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. Because everything that you were designed to build that's bigger than you, that you cannot complete by yourself, is going to require that you do some inside work. Right? You got to start this transformational process for yourself in order for that thing to come to pass. And so that's the first area. The second area of where we need to develop vision is our outside, and I touched on that a little bit earlier when I was talking about the strength, the physical strength, and some of us don't look the way we want to look. Right? You may be small in stature, and everybody else look at you and say, "Oh, you look nice." But then you may not be happy. You may feel like you're not as physically fit and strong as you would like to be. You may have way too much. You feel like you weigh too much, or you may physically have a health issue because of your weight or because of some external factor. For me, I'm aging. So to watch my neck, the wrinkles on my neck, and the lines under my eyes, all those things, after a while you start looking and going, ew, like I'm confident in myself. I think Gwen is great, but we all have physical things that we would like to change or like to be different. Now I can't get somebody else's body type. I have the shape that I have. I gain the weight the way I do because of the body shape I have. Someone else with a different body type is going to have other issues, positive and negative, and so I can't change to be like them. Well, I guess I can these days. You can get surgery for really anything, but that's another point. If you really are so concerned and you feel like some aspect of your body and your physical being out externally is so disturbing to you that you want to go and have surgery to fix it, I say go for it. If that's really going to make you happier with what's going on, that's going to create a better vision for your life, right? But the bottom line is, ultimately, we have to get a vision for that as well. And sometimes that vision may not be even just, I want to look better. Maybe it's just, I really do want to be healthy so I can be here longer. And now that we're in the age of the coronavirus, being healthy just at its core, intrinsically, we're seeing how important it is, because it helps us stave off disease. It helps us not just to be able to physically get up and do what we want to do, but it helps us to survive, right? It can help us to recover more quickly. So, and a lot of these underlying conditions that we're talking about are things that we can actually change ourselves. So getting a vision for that, not allowing yourself to be stuck in this, in the patterns of negative habits, maybe eating a certain way, or a habit of eating at certain times. Like I do that because I sit and work in front of the computer so long that it's really easy for me to then go, okay, now that I've finished working this 13-hour day, now I'm going to go eat something, right? Well, that's a bad habit. So bottom line is, we need to get a vision for our inside, how we are emotionally, intelligently. You can grow, you can learn anything at any age. It's never too late. And then outside, how we feel about our physical being on the outside. It's amazing to me. Have you ever noticed or watched makeover shows? I love them. Queer Eye, What Not to Wear from back in the day, any of them. If it's a makeover show, I'm there. I'm there for it, because I love to watch the transformation. And I hear so many people say, I don't care how I look, right? And I think when they say that, I just want to say, liar, liar, pants on fire, because I just don't know anybody who just doesn't care how they look. I think declaring I don't care how I look is basically letting us know that you really do care, because you wouldn't need to say it if you really didn't care, right? And I think when you watch the transformation that people go through emotionally and physically when they have some kind of a makeover. When you have a glam squad that comes in and literally makes you over, does your hair professionally, someone that comes and actually helps you figure out how you should be dressing, and to watch people look at themselves in the mirror and watch the process. I think that is so fascinating because it really does matter how you show up every day. You know, I make it a point when I do this show, I'm making a point to actually put in some effort with what I'm going to wear. Like I think about, I mean, it's not a whole lot of time, but I have a plan. I have a vision for how it is I want to dress, and I find that, and even if I dress from head to toe, when I first started, I was wearing the shoes, I was doing everything, whether you could see it or not, because it makes a difference in your attitude, how you show up. I heard somebody recently say, in the middle of all this COVID and all of this stuff with all these videos, and we're all at home, like 2 or 3 times a week, she and her friends get dressed up on purpose because it changes your attitude. It really does matter. You hear over and over people say you dress for the station in life or the position in life where you want to be. And I think when you take the time and make the effort to just consider your physical being at whatever level it is that you do, it makes a difference. It changes how you walk. It changes just how you feel, and it changes how other people perceive you. So it's so important. And then you want to get a vision for your surroundings. And your surroundings could be anything. Like it could be the state where you live, the country where you live. It could be the type of just dwelling that you live in. Do is it an apartment? Is it I have a vision. I love loft. So that's still like in my head. When I moved to Atlanta about almost 25 years ago, I had this vision of myself. I imagined myself living on Peachtree in a loft overlooking the Fox Theater, and I just had this grand vision. It was this beautiful space, and I love the idea of being in the center of this artistic and creative environment. And I loved, like right there on Peachtree, there's the Midtown MARTA station, so I loved being able to just jump on the train and go where I wanted to go. And I just had and I worked at the time for a PR firm here in Atlanta, and so it was like I felt like I was living my best life. I imagined myself living my best life, walking down the street. It was delightful, and I've never had the loft apartment. My brother came and actually lived that life, and I was just slightly like, how you gonna come and take over my dream, right? But I still have that imagination. Now I've cheated myself because I've never actually had a vision for a home. Like I've never had a dream home, and I realized that I never had a dream home because I don't really like traditional homes. I like much more creative spaces. But if you're just going to walk out the door and go buy the kind of space I really like, typically those end up being like $1 million, multi-million-dollar spaces. And I didn't really understand but because I felt like I didn't necessarily have the means to be able to get that, I never even sat down and like intentionally said, this is the kind of house I want to live in. I like them. I kind of wanted it, but I wouldn't dare say it. So I guess I'm daring to say it now. But you want to imagine, how do you want to live? What kind of furniture do you want to be surrounded by? How do you want to decorate, right? And it doesn't mean you go out and you start trying to spend all your money so you can live like that right now, but just cultivating using that muscle, right, to imagine and to focus on what it is you really want. And sometimes you can't necessarily start exactly where you want, but you can start incorporating elements of that into every aspect of your life. So when I talk about focus, I'm talking about really centering your activity and your interest around a specific area of life, inside, your outside, or your surroundings. Your environment could also include people, relationships. Anything outside of you would include your, I mean, not outside, because I'm talking inside is you internally and emotionally. Outside is your physical being, and then your surroundings is everything else. Okay, so getting a vision for all of that. Yes, Ron, the imagination muscle, right? And but oh, Renee said I'm failing, honey. Don't. We're not gonna use the word failing, because the reality is you have to fail before you can succeed. If you have been there before and you've done it and you know it and you've mastered it, then there's nothing to accomplish, right? So vision is about what you can't do. It's about something bigger outside of you or in front of you. It's about a future. And so if you already know how to do it, then you need to be sharing that with other people and helping them get strong in it. But there's still more for you to stretch towards. So when you start whatever that new thing is you really want, you're going to fail. I mean, I had an epic failure last week on a project for a client, and I got to tell you, I have failed so much, and not things have not necessarily gone exactly the way I wanted for so long. I've been in this game over 30 years now as just working adult, and now what I realize is I was so much cooler under the pressure of it, and it was a lot of pressure. Okay, but as the thing was going down and it felt like everything was just kind of falling apart in the middle of it, I felt like I started focusing like a well-oiled machine and just was like, where everything goes in slow motion. And I was just like, okay. And I felt like I had this radar just going, and I'm looking at all the elements and learning how to focus on, in the middle of everything feeling like it's falling apart, focus on the thing that's the most important so I can get to the end of that. And then I could go back and assess the situation and salvage what I could. And so really, whatever area you feel like you're failing in, understand that that's the first step toward actually succeeding. You got to fail. And I think too, it's good to recognize that you're failing. That's why we say, what would make your life, or that's why I asked, what would make your life better? Because if you don't answer that question for yourself in each of these areas, then you're never going to be able to use your imagination to actually solve the problem and make it better, to create the environment and create the situation that you really want for your future. So this is like the judgment-free zone. It's like this is where failure is celebrated. We're not talking, no one has their everything all together. No one has their life all figured out. Not a single person. I don't care who it is. And so you want to figure out how to describe the future that you want, but you need focus to kind of cinch. I always make you feel better. Thank you, sweetheart. But you have to focus on the area that you want to improve so that you can describe the future that you want. And that's step number 2. So first is vision. The second one is focus. And so the last one is plan. You have to, if you're going to develop a blueprint for a vision for every area of life, you have to have a plan. And I love this definition too. Again, just Google it, just straight up, the first definition that came, and it's a detailed proposal for doing. I didn't make that up. I love it. So this show is about a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. And I want to help you create a plan. And we want to help you write the vision. So writing the vision is creating a plan, and a plan is a detailed proposal for doing. Again, with a focus on action, right? We're not going to sit and hope for this for our lives. That you can create a vision board, and I think there is definitely power in that. But we got to go beyond the vision board and actually start creating a plan. And I think creating a plan, it also helps to bring the thing that you want to you, and the lifestyle that you want. It helps to bring it to you, but it also makes you a partner in the creation of it, and you're not a victim in the middle, while you're just waiting for somebody to come and drop something on you and as a benefactor. And there's going to be plenty of opportunities and plenty of times where people are going to do that for you, because we're supposed to do that for each other. But thank you, honey. He said that's good stuff. But it's there are going to be people that come along, that there are people who are destined to come along and be benefactors for you, but they're not going to show up if you're just sitting around waiting for them to show up. They're going to show up when you're out in the world, investing your life and your time and your energy in becoming yourself. And when they see that, they're going to recognize, oh, yep, that's the one I've been looking for. So the thing that they've been saving up for, planning for, storing away, now they recognize you when you show up, right? When you show up in the best version of yourself at the time, then they'll know to come. But this, you got to be able to, you describe the future you want in your plan. And I looked up also the word blueprint. The word blueprint is a guide for making. Love it. So again, I didn't make all this up, and it's so beautiful to see how it all comes together. It's coming together. So I told you my branding agency is called Adam Red, and people ask me all the time, what is Adam Red? Like, why? How'd you come up with that name? And the word Adam, if you study it, it means maker. Adam means maker. So a blueprint is a guide for making, and making really also implies productivity. And it talks about the name Adam is also it's also defined as ruddy or red, and so that's where the word red comes from. So Adam Red really is Adam technically, but it also talks about the earth, which is really like the source. I think it's representative of productivity and making. And so this whole idea of creating a blueprint, you need a guide for making. You can't just jump up and just all of a sudden make something, right? But you start. It's a process. So the process starts by getting a vision for it, something way out in front of you that's bigger than you, that, there's got to be this big, deep chasm between where you are right now and where you're going in order for that thing to be the power of the vision to really help you and benefit your life, right? Then, because if you're only doing the things that you're capable of and what you know, you are really you put yourself into a very tiny box. And we talked about that last week. That box is that your comfort zone is that tiny box that you have created where you feel like you can control your circumstances, control your situation. So if you're only doing the things you know are going to succeed, what a tiny little narrow life. And look at all that life that's out in front of you and available that you're missing out on if that's the way you're thinking. So my whole goal here is to help you just expand. Because what if it doesn't happen? I mean, what if you don't make it to, for me, I want to go to Cameroon. So what if I don't make it to Cameroon, but I get to Paris, right? I don't know if that's the difference. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. But the idea is if what they say, you reach for the stars, you might at least touch the sky. So the bottom line is, thank you, Veronica. The bottom line is you want to do something bigger than yourself, and you need a blueprint. You need a guide for making. And I love, too, that it says a pattern that can be followed. So when you write a plan, I love working with templates. So there are all kinds of business plan templates. If you need a business plan, there's a template out there, especially now on the internet, that for the type of business that you want to create. So you don't, if you want a car dealership and you can't go get a business plan for a hair salon and try to build the car dealership. You want a template, a pattern that you can follow, right? If you sew, like I crochet, and so I follow a pattern, or I will use that pattern as a jumping off point and then go create my own, which is really what I do most of the time now. I've used so many patterns. Now I can go in and design my own thing just out of my own mind and go, okay, I know this, I need to connect this way. I need to make this color is going to do this, right? But it started with a pattern, a blueprint. And so I also looked up synonyms for vision, out of the thesaurus. So one is imagination, which we talked about, creativity, innovation, perception, power, inventiveness. All of these are qualities that you possess, every single one. There is nothing that you do not have: the imagination, the creativity, the innovation, the perception, the power, the inventiveness that you need to create the future that you see for yourself. To see and then I don't know where this fits or what, but I'm gonna, maybe I'll talk about it at some other point and go into it. But right before the little 5 minute countdown was done, I got 3 words: foresight, insight, hindsight. Vision. You have the capacity for vision. You have the capacity for foresight that gives you the opportunity to see things before they happen, right? Again, we're not trying to be spooky, spiritual. What we're talking about is just, this is how you're made. This is what is possible with your brain and your intellect and your thinking capacity. You have the ability to see before, foresight. You have the ability to utilize your insight. You can look into a situation and you have the ability to determine a strategy to get to any destination, to solve any issue, to interpret what you need to know inside of that situation. And then you have the capacity for hindsight. Hindsight is, they say hindsight is 20/20 vision, but hindsight is also the ability to look back on something and examine what it was that happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and figure out, okay, you can analyze that situation and then utilize all of that data, all that information that you've gathered to make a better future, to create a blueprint for something else. So when we talk about failure, they say failure isn't final. Failure is not, failure is, there is no such thing as failure, because everything gives you the ability to learn and do something different and change course. And I don't know anybody that, if you maybe you have an issue in your family. I mean, I'm sure that it happens, but I think most people, most reasonable human beings, if somebody will just come and say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and then you own it and you change your behavior and change the situation and move forward. Most people understand that we're all human, we make mistakes. And so they value the fact that you can come and say, you know what, I missed that. So can you forgive me? And it's as simple as, if you're out, now in COVID days, we're supposed to be 6 feet apart. But if somebody bumps you accidentally and they keep walking, what happens? If you like me, you'll be pissed, right? I love it. Ron says failure is the foundation to your next success. That's it. But if somebody bumps into you and like it's an obvious bump, right? Like there's no way they could not feel that they hit you, and they keep moving. Oh, that's some fighting. That's some grounds for fighting for some people. They get angry, right? Because you feel disrespected. You feel like somebody, they really just taken you for granted and felt like you were not important enough to acknowledge that they at least just bumped into you, right? But if somebody bumps into you, even if it's a hard bump, and they grab you and like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, the first thing you're going to say is, oh, it's okay. And you might be irritated. You might be injured. Like there's all kinds of things, but you at least, you'll give them a pass because they at least acknowledge that they made a mistake. And so that's really the way our lives, are. As long as you got to understand that you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes we make really big, gigantic, hairy mistakes that feel like we just cannot, we can't recover from. But the bottom line is we all make mistakes. And I think one of the best days in my MBA studies was when I was reading a book about marketing, and it was they talked about the statistics, like the percentage of businesses that fail. And I went, wait, it was something like 4 or 5% of businesses that start out that actually succeed, right? And I was like, wait, that means like 96% of businesses fail. So if 96% of businesses fail, that thing set me free. I was like, oh, well, I'm not doing bad. I'm not doing bad at all. Like I'm like on track. The more you learn, the more you fail, the more you learn. And and every time you get up, you do something different. You learn something else. you're going to be stronger. You become it becomes your superpower, right? Because you can build and grow and learn and develop. And I also learned that most investors, angel investors, venture capitalists, they would rather invest in someone who started a business, tried to do it and failed, than to start to invest their money in somebody who's just starting out for the first time. Because you're more likely to succeed. As Ron said, failure is the foundation to your next success. I can't get that out. But it is the foundation, because you are more likely to succeed when you try again, because you've learned, you've got some more information, you understand, like when the situation comes, now you know how to respond. So anyway, so vision for every area of life is about, you want to develop a blueprint, and it's going to require that you use your imagination, that you focus your activity and your action around a specific area that you want to create a better future for. And then you want to create a plan. And a plan is simply a blueprint or a guide for making it. And I love the word guide. And you could almost replace the word plan with guide, because I think the word plan is often very intimidating, because we feel like it feels hard. I know for me it does, or it has in the past. And I think if you really look at it as a guide, then we stop creating these hard and fast rules. If A plus B, if 1 and 2 does not equal 3, then I failed and everything is lost. If I don't get married by this, next year on this date, then your whole life falls apart. And now you've lost your hope. I think it's so important to use it as a guide. A guide is flexible. A guide kind of helps you figure out what direction you want to go in. And the wind might be blowing a certain way in a particular day, and you're like, maybe I should go. And the wind maybe is just the marketplace. Now, what the plans that we made last year for this year, right? What happened to those? Because now we're in COVID. We're in all these situations all at once. But now we needed a guide. And we talked about it. All the people who had a strong sense of self coming into all of this, those are the people that have had the ability to make quicker adjustments in the middle of it. Those are the people who have not been taken out, who've not been completely discouraged and shut down. Your business, like there may be some businesses that don't recover, but those individuals, they'll be stronger as they come through this situation. So that's all I have for you tonight. I really, once again, I appreciate you spending the time to be here. I encourage you, I ask you, please share this with somebody else. Share Vivid Talk Live. Let them know that the program exists. And again, if you have any questions, you need anything, my website, I want to show you my store. I haven't talked about that too much, but the website is a great resource. It has everything that you need there. And there's also a store. The store contains the Flip Productivity System Flip book. It contains products, the mugs, everything. So I wanted to call attention to that, let you know that it's there. And then we're going to see you next Wednesday at, what time do we start? 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking for, there we go. Eastern Standard Time, right here on, most of you I think are watching us from Facebook, but we're on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. Anywhere you want to be, that's where we are. And so I thank you, and I'll see you next week. Roll the credits. Bye. Wait, I'm rolling the credits?